There are parents on the schedule and there are single parents. So who are you? This phrase sent me into a tailspin for several days. And who am I for my children? And here are the conclusions I came to. Once upon a time, these words made me squirm. I give my child 2 or 3 hours of quality attention a day, and the rest of the time my kid is either with a nanny or in kindergarten or at school. I have heard this many times from moms info-entrepreneurs, and this didn't fit my mother paradigm. When we had our first daughter, my husband and I went freelance, and we have been working from home for over 15 years, while also taking care of our homeschooled children. During this time, work and raising children, together with household chores, merged into a single whole for me, and it became the norm to digress to respond to requests, questions, or run when something suddenly happened. And since we have 4 children, they come to us regularly, so we are used to spend time with the children 24/7. And only recently I began to notice that this scheme no longer works for us or for the children. The conclusions were disappointing. It became difficult for me to stay focused and work efficiently when everyone is in the same room. When I'm interrupted in the middle of work, I often don't finish something, forget or don't do it in time. Momentary, superficial attention, when you simply answer questions or look at what is shown to you and continue to do your own thing, doesn't satisfy children. It is rather dribs and drabs and not full attention. Because of this, dissatisfaction grows among the children, because it turns out that the one who approaches to you more often gets more. And we have just this situation with hugs of the smallest son. Also, children feel neglected and unloved, not listened to. And you don't have time to do anything worthwhile in short periods of time. So even cool ideas remain unfinished, as if you are trying to sleep between raindrops without getting wet. And yes, you can work when the children are sleeping, which means that you regularly go to bed after 2 a.m. So this seagull attention is not the quality attention that your kid really needs. This is an illusion of attention which only makes the situation worse. Such inadequate attention creates only uncertainty and anxiety. So does that happen to you? How do you spend time with your children? At some point, my husband and I realized that we can't go on like this. But how? In a large family, there must be discipline, order, and hierarchy. Otherwise, you just may go nuts. And the organization of family life is precisely about order. Maybe it doesn't sound very attractive or it is too school-like, but giving children time on the schedule is the right thing to do, because the organization of fruiting life gives children a sense of security. Take it away the anxiety of not knowing what the day will be filled with. And this is especially important now when the external world has less order and predictability in general, and it more becomes like a chaos. If we want to teach children something, we need regularity and habit. Yes, repetition is the mother of learning. And habit, as you know, works better when it is tied to a specific place and time. And regularity gives much better results than detached practices. No matter how busy parents are, if they regularly allocate fixed time to the child, it also strengthens the child's belief that he is not indifferent to the parents, that the parents don't put the needs and interests of the child to the last place. And it also helps the child to understand that life consists not only of what he or she wants, that the child is not the center of the universe for the parents, but only a part of it, especially when the child is not alone. The organization of routine tasks living according to the schedule is especially important for children with ADHD. It helps them to hone basic self-organization skills to automaticity and create order in their head, which will remove excess pressure from executive functions, with which people with ADHD have the most problems. The skills established this way in childhood will serve them throughout all their life, because it is known that ADHD cannot be cured. You will say that these are all advantages for children, but for parents it looks more like additional obligations and increased responsibility. However, I can contradict you. Scheduled time for a child has advantages for parents as well. First, it gives parents more freedom, as they can plan their time more effectively. Second, this is also an argument in conversations with the child. This is your time, and here you play alone, and I'm working. We agreed on that. And by the way, negotiation with a child gives them a sense of partnership in relationships, thanks to which children are more willing and open to cooperate. And an uncompromising "I said so" discourages any desire to understand others. Third, it relieves parents of guilt when they have a full-time job or many other responsibilities, and gives confidence that they are paying attention to the child, not on a residual basis. According to researchers, psychologists, and even parents who were able to solve this problem, the quality of time you spend with your child is more important than its quantity. Because you can be a housewife mother and the child will still sit for days watching cartoons or playing games on the phone. For some reason, gadgets have become wonderful babysitters everywhere, but only few people think about the consequences of this situation. Or you can be a busy dad who is lost in his works for days, but talks to his child over dinner every evening and reads a book for him for 15 minutes before going to bed, or they discuss how the day was. Yes, I gave stereotypical examples. Now, there are many families in which father and mother switched their roles. Mother goes to work, and father is a house husband. The main thing I wanted to say is that you can live for years next to your child and not devote time to them, or you can have just 30 minutes a day and use it to the fullest. So, are there any data or recommendations? Yes, there are statistics, and they speak for themselves. Look here. The golden standard of time that should be given to a child per day is 115 to 150 minutes, and that is an average of 2 or 2.5 hours, and this is not that much. If you take a 5 or 6-year-old child, this includes waking up the child, preparing him or her for a daycare or school, taking him there and then picking him up from there, having dinner together and spending some time together before bed. It's not difficult, right? Everything looks different when we start thinking in numbers. The main thing here is to remember. When spending time with a child, you should put everything aside, including mobiles, tablets, laptops, and not to buzz something from behind the gadgets without raising your head and without even looking up at the child. Children are very sensitive to eye contact, intonation, movements, and facial expressions. They scan a lack of attention instantly, as well as a complete focus on them. You know, it still sometimes surprises me how, having arranged to spend an hour or a little bit more with my youngest son, I am left alone after 30 or 40 minutes, just because he has had enough. He is full with my attention and ran off to find other adventures by himself or with older siblings. Also, another question may arise here. And what can I do with my child when I don't have much time? If this is relevant for you, in the description of the video, you will find a link to a list of ideas tested on our 4 children. However, most of what was said was about parents who work outside the house and their children who go to kindergarten or school. And what should we do, parents who consciously choose to work at home, you may ask? I agree. This is a completely different reality, as work commitments come first, not household chores and child care. These are other possibilities, limitations, and requirements. And if kids are also homeschoolers, how to calculate and, most importantly, organize this time with children, especially when there are more than 2 of them, and many, many other questions. So, freelance parents and homeschoolers. We have 4 children, and once my husband and I calculated that if each of us devotes 2 hours a day to each kid, then it is 8 hours per day. So everyone has a full-time job, right? Then where to put the work itself? And this is the topic of my next video.